Greetings, Patrick here. 8 questions with, and welcome to the show. So, wow. So it's cold and rainy over here in Michigan. Uh, I guess we are lucky. Up there in Upper Michigan, the UP, they have gotten ice storms, severe ice storms, and it has literally taken down trees. Trees have collapsed underneath the weight of all that ice. Saw some pictures of that. It's just as scary as fire, if you ask me. Our guest tonight is going to be artist and small business owner Michael Bayouth. Um, but he's going to be a little late tonight. And when he does come, we're not going to keep him that long. His significant other is in the hospital, and he said he had to take her in today. So I'm not sure she's having surgery today or tonight or tomorrow, but either way, doesn't matter. We're just going to get him for maybe about 30 to 40 minutes, and then we're going to kick him loose so he can spend time with his wife. Um, so yeah, that's most important. And then we can do a longer, in-depth interview with him later on. That's probably what if I had actually thought about that, that's probably what I should have done. But he said he was going to be here, so well, that was awfully kind of him. Um, most of the time that doesn't happen, um, but I'm grateful that he is, and actually not might not be such a bad thing either. Um, sometimes the distraction of doing life can help you when your significant other is laid up or facing a surgery. Yes, I speak from experience with that, as some of you may know. All right. So Michael is a small business owner. He is not only a small business owner, he is a tremendous artist. He asked me earlier, he says, "How did you find me?" Man, what can I tell? What can I say? Um, it's all about instinct. It's all about instinct. I look at a lot of people. I look at a lot of people, and when I look for guests, and it's really cool to see an artist because we've interviewed quite a few here, and it's always super fun to find someone who's very talented, and you just go up there and say, "Hey, come talk about your talent." um, and that's really all I did with here. I just saw Michael's Instagram page. I looked at his art. I said, "That's someone who I would really like to talk to." So hopefully he'll be all right with that. Um, hey Anthony, how are you? See, yeah, definitely the unicorn. I'm not really fired up for that. That's gonna be a library movie. If I find it for a quarter, I'll get it. But I'm not really, yeah, yeah, really wasn't fired up for that. I still like the first. I still got to go with the first Carousel as my favorite unicorn. As my favorite unicorn movie, I got to go with the first Carousel. That was absolutely joyful movie, a lot of fun. Um, let's see, and Sinners is up next. I think that's the vampire movie, right? With Jamie Foxx. Um, yeah, I heard that's all right. I tell you what, I tell you the movie I'm still buzzing about, and hopefully I put the seeds down for this. But the ISC Midnighters, we covered a movie called Oddity last Sunday, and not only did we have our biggest crowd for that show. I mean, we had like 8 people in there. That's awesome for us. Um, but afterwards, I sent a letter to the director, Damian McCarthy. I sent him a note, and I asked him. I told him how I sent him the link to our show, and I told him, I says, "Man, we really watched your movie, and we really were blown away by it." And so I asked him if he'd like to come talk to us. Well, he said that and this us, we won't give up. So I made a mistake. I have to be careful about this. I always say interviews. I don't really look at what we do here as an interview. I look at it so much as we just talk. And hey, there he is. There our survivor. Thank God for Mike. That's all I gotta say. He has saved us from so many bad movies already. He's he. Someone ought to give him. Someone should give him a knighthood. Get Charles on the phone. Uh, let's see. Today was Popeye. God. But I don't know if you reviewed Piglet yet. Have you watched Piglet yet, Mike? I gotta tell you, I'm watching that movie after this tonight. After our show here tonight, I'm watching. I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna follow. Piglet looks actually pretty halfway decent. I really liked. I really liked how Alex Butler played Piglet, and I think it's gonna be a lot better than I think it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. That thing's to be. That's gonna be a little bit of a banger. I have a feeling. Let's see, Mouse of Horrors. Oh, thank God. Let's see. This is what I dreaded. This is what I dreaded. I dreaded that you were going to get these 12 movies, watch them all roll in here, and then get us over there for a hangout, and then tell us that we each had to watch one of those movies that you did, and talk about it. Oh God, do we have to do that? So far, you haven't let it made us do that. So, so I'm very grateful for that. But Piglet looks halfway decent. I'm looking forward to that. I saw the clip of it, and I'm like, that's not bad. The acting's pretty decent. I like the mask. I wish it would have been more interesting though. Though I probably didn't think about this. It would have been more interesting if they had actually made the mask that they have for Piglet. If they would have put some shades of purple in it, like in the book, because Piglet looks come across sort of like pinkish purplish. That would have been an interesting look for the mask. Um, that would have been interesting. But we're looking forward to it. It's going to be very exciting after the show. See what else has been happening. Oh, what was I talking about before that? I think I was talking about. Yeah, I was talking about Michael and his art. So he not only is he an artist, but he also he runs his own company as well. So we'll be talking with him about that. So it's two for the price of one. Always looking forward to talking to a small business owner and also an artist himself. So it'll be very cool. Um, it's funny. It's like when I was talking about interviewing goes. Um, when I contacted the director of Oddity, I asked for an interview, and I really need to stop doing that. I need to start asking them just to have a talk, because that's generally what we do. Damien said that he's not the best interviewee, and I'm like, I don't want to make him uncomfortable, So I sent him the interview I did with Ashley Clark, um, who's one of my favorite, and her new movie actually is out. I saw that on a clip for Shutter. That Ashley Clark's new film, Free Weka, is now out. It's another Irish horror, and it's out. It's out on Shutter. I'm not sure if Shutter put it out or ISC put it out or what have you, but I know that it's actually out. So now that it is, now I got to go try to see if she'll come back and hang out with us. But talking to Damien, I said, listen, he says, I'm going to go be going in the post right now. And then I said, that's fine. You go to post, and then we'll be here. We'll be here when you're ready. Because we definitely want to talk about Oddity. We want to talk about. I mean, it's an amazing film, and I'm blown away by how good the Irish horror is. It's amazing, actually. Um, there was a movie I watched a couple of years ago called The Eclipse. Called Eclipse. Yes. Oh, so that's okay. So you got a screener? Man, see, I gotta somehow get my way into Shutter just to have them send me stuff. It's funny because I'm the biggest ISC guy, and I can't get hooked up with them. That's a little frustrating. Uh, but I'm sure that you will enjoy that movie, Mike. If you saw The Devil's Doorway, you already know what kind of filmmaker Ashley Clark is. She's a banger. That woman can storytell. The Devil's Doorway is one of my very favorite movies, not only for the straight horror of the movie, but for the historical horror as well. She combined both fiction and nonfiction together. It's a really terrific film. Now that was a movie. Hi Sue, how are you? Hello. Now, The Devil's Doorway is one of those movies that sometimes we hear about. Like when I saw the movie, I looked at it. This is before I started doing this and talking to directors and whatnot. When I bought this over at Family Video, um, I noticed that it was a 73-minute runtime, and I thought that was really small, really 73 minutes is not very long. But of course, for The Devil's Doorway, it filled up every possible second. It's a great movie, and when I started talking about directors and producers, and they're saying how a lot of times run times connect to the budget. If it has a small runtime, it's because it has a small budget. So this is one of those things for us. Like I said, I wish they could have had it. Like I wish I could have had another 20 minutes on Devil's Doorway. And sometimes I watched the movie yesterday that only had 77 minutes. But I think that movie had its budget, but it only fit the story time that it was allotted to, 77 minutes. Whereas the Devil's Doorway, it needed needed a little bit more budget to make it go through, to make it pop. Um, but yes, not only Ashleen Clark, of course, I still bemoan the fact that Liam Gavin has not come back since the. I don't know what happened. It's a really, if someone could tell me, someone could actually contact me and tell me what happened to Liam Gavin. I know that he was taking care of his brother. His brother had special needs, and he was very important in his life. Very important. He talked about his brother a lot, but I swear I miss that guy. I miss his storytelling. Liam Gavin, who did a dark song, again, it's just another Irish horror film. Um, there are a lot of terrific Irish directors, and they are really on the rise with what they're doing. Um, they're not just making Holcomb movies, which is actually ironically the name of Damien's movie. The new one's called Holcomb. Now, I don't know if that there's Holcomb, like a misbelieving, like it's a trick. But I'm thinking, I don't think that's necessarily what he's thinking. I'm sure there's a different definition for his Holcomb, and I can't wait to see it. It makes because it made me when I saw that, it made me man, it just sounded menacing. Hokum. Okay. I mean, like oddity. Oddity is like, that's a really interesting word, right? But the first thing it doesn't do to you, it doesn't instill fear into you until now. Now, when someone says, that's a little bit of an oddity, I'm like, do you have to say oddity about that? Because now I'm thinking about a big ass golem behind me, and um, so yeah, I can't wait to see Farika too. You'll have to let us know how you enjoyed it, Mike. Hopefully it's really good. I guess the other big news today was the passing of Val Kilmer. Um, I think I think we were all sort of we're I think we're all very sad by it, but I don't think anybody's surprised by it. I mean, no one's sitting there going like, "Wow, I didn't expect that." He'd been battling throat cancer for a long time now, um, which, yeah, it's pretty much it ended his career when he got it. As far as his acting career, not as entertaining career, because he ended up becoming a very well respected painter. And not just because of his name, but because of his talent. He was very good. He's a very good painter. and he helped out a lot of people. Um, uh, just a shame what happened. I mean, of all the ways to go out, it sort of reminded me of the way how he went out with Doc Holliday and Tombstone. Doc went out with TB, and what a sad way for a man full of life, a person full of life to go out. But he did fight hard. No one can say that about Val Kilmer. He might have put himself into that situation with some lifestyle choices, but he didn't feel sorry for himself. He didn't bitch and complain. He just got busy living. And So while he couldn't do acting because of his vocal cords were shot because of the treatment. He still was able to pop in there and still able to pop in there and get a cameo in Top Gun Maverick. He also did a lot of smaller films that a lot of people don't know about. It's sort of like watching when Tony Todd died, and everybody threw up the few movies that everybody knew Tony Todd from, though he had 100 credits to his name. And it seemed like that's the same way with Val Kilmer. They were always commenting on all the movies that everybody knew about. Um, but he did a lot of other films too. A lot of other films that were really good. One movie I was surprised nobody mentioned. I mentioned Doc Holliday because that was my favorite Val Kilmer role. I liked that way more than I liked him in Top Gun. I mean, he was all right in Top Gun, but that he was so much better in Tombstone. What a fantastic cast that is, right? What a fantastic. I mean, that's why that movie is immortal because of the cast. I mean, that is just absolutely loaded with talent. Yeah, that's just amazing to me. Um, it, when the other movie, that poor Kevin Costner, he tried to do his Wyatt Earp, and it was okay. It was okay. I saw some of it. It was okay, but man, it can't even come inside the same bar room as Tombstone goes. Um, Give me one quick minute here. I want to bring up. I want to make sure that let's see. Uh, yes, if you can hear this now. Let's see. Okay, I'm sending him a quick email, so he must be still at the hospital. Um, Depending on what's going on here, like I said, I'm only going to keep him for like 30 minutes or so. I'm not going to keep him here for the long run. I would not feel comfortable doing that. Um, even if he said, I just wouldn't feel comfortable with that. Uh, I don't mind getting a longer interview a little later down the road. Just want to make sure that you know because I saw this on an acting group this past weekend on Facebook, and one director was commenting on one of his actors who didn't show up, and they wanted to put the actor on blast. Like, should I go ahead and name out the actor because they didn't show up? Even though he had talked to the actor the day before and got assurances that they would be there on time, everything, copacetic, and then the director doesn't see the actor doesn't show up, no call, no show, no phone call, no nothing. And of course, he's really frustrated because he got his whole crew. He's got money he's burning out of his pocket because now he's not going to be able to do what he needs to do with the actor, and he wants to know if he can put them on blast. So I haven't heard from them at all. I had no phone calls returned on it. And my thing was, make sure your actor's okay first. before you say anything else. You can be mad, but before you're mad, make sure that the person's safe, and make sure they're okay, because there's a lot that could happen overnight. Um, and so, give them give them a chance to contact you, and say, hey, I'm really sorry. I mean, give them a chance to at least explain themselves. Um, and then after that, don't worry about it. You don't have to work with them again, but I don't think you need to put them on blast about it. Um, unless someone happened to say, hey, I saw your actor over at the local bar and he was getting plowed, the day before the shoot. Then I might be tempted to sit there and say, yeah, I would probably not recommend working with that person again. Uh, but until the artist is okay, or that your actor's okay, don't say nothing, but make sure they're safe. Good evening.
How's everything going?
Good. Listen, I'm just gonna be right up front with you. I'm not gonna keep you very long because of what's going on. I'll keep you like for a half hour, and then
You're very kind. Thank you.
Yep. So you can get back to your wife. That's what we're talking about. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. That's very kind.
Okay,
so yeah, thanks for looking me up.
Yeah, man. Well, the good thing about this is too. What's really cool, because the way I look at it is, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. Win either way. I get you now a little bit now for 30 minutes, and then when we get you come back, then we get to hear the good news about your wife and her recovery, and we'll get to talk a little bit longer about your art. So to me, it's a win-win. So,
awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you, Patrick.
Oh, no problem, Michael. Super excited that you're here. You mentioned earlier through email you were saying, how did I find you? And it's sort of funny. It's just like at night I have insomnia, so what I'll do is I'll charge up my phone, and then I'll just go through I'll go through like Instagram. I'll just go through, like, if there's someone there they interest me, I'll start following them, and then I'll sit there and say, I wonder if they'll want to talk and hang out and see about their art.
There's a lot of creative folks on Instagram. It's a myriad of creative people, I'll tell you.
Oh, I have met many people through it, and I've started to meet some people through Threads now too, and it's very cool. And to me, it's like, what's really neat about it is too, it's like, especially Threads, it seems to be people are engaging more. I'm seeing people like advertise their businesses, and or their particular art or their movie or whatnot. People seem to respond to that a little bit more. You and I were talking about social media and how you don't really use Instagram for business, and I don't really use that much email because I just don't get that much.
Sure.
But the one social media platform I don't use anymore either, because it's just become sort of unusable. It's Facebook. It's useless. I don't do anything really on that platform for anything other than to promote my show.
Well, I find I get a fair amount of work through Facebook just from posting my storyboard work and my children's book illustrations. And there's a lot of like boomers that are writing their first children's book that are looking for illustrators, and there's a lot of producers that are on there looking for storyboard artists, and I usually try to tag, or make an Instagram post as well, and that's probably what you're seeing sporadically from me. But I don't know it really well. Like I can get around in Facebook a little bit, just because I'm used to it. But Instagram is a little bit newer. But yeah, no, I'm now on TikTok, and I find TikTok very interesting because there's a lot of screenwriters on there talking about screenwriting, and you're getting like what's happening right now in the field of screenwriting, and not necessarily a podcast where they're interviewing like people that are name writers, and you're just getting like a behind the scenes, but you're getting like stuff that you can use, like usable, tangible stuff, advice that you can use like right now, stuff that's going on right now. So I like TikTok too. It's really cool, and you get the complete realm from the bottom feeders to the really to the smarter people that are got millions and millions of followers, and for very good reason.
I tend to, like a lot of people, they aim for the high, like they aim for the big names. And to me, man, what interests me is the ones that I see like yourself that are out there, but they're not, they don't have like a 200,000 followers, which means I can have a conversation with you, and
Yes, yes,
and
accessible.
I really enjoy that, because then I can get you out here. And like, I sort of knew I was going to get you anyway, because I sent you Sophie May's, because I always said an interview that I have already done. I'll send that as a calling card. Like, this is what the show looks like. And I sent you Sophie, and I go like, this will hook him right here, because she's an amazing artist and whatnot. And I said, this will get him. He'll be curious to see what we're doing, because we're not interviewing the fantastically huge names. I rather just talk, because like I said, I want to be able to have a chance to have a discussion. I want
Yeah,
to know how you do your art. And if you have 200,000 people, chances are my request is going to get just wiped out.
yeah,
Because it's too much. It's too many people doing that. So plus, it's like, to me, it's like, man, it's like showing off too. Like, check out Michael Bayouth. Check out his art. His art's amazing. And
well,
then
I had a really a lot of great breaks, and I was very, very lucky early on. Right out of high school, I got to work at the NBC graphic arts department, and I learned how to airbrush and how to do conventional illustration and how to work with typography and how to create logo designs for every kind of a show that, it could be a game show, it could be a sitcom, it could be a dramatic thing that's some drama on NBC, and you'd have to like switch genres and do this and do that. And so I learned how to do all motifs and conventional illustration and do all those more to comes for the Johnny Carson show. So I was learning conventional illustration while going to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena at night. And so I was just 18 years old right out of high school. And it was great. I was there for 6 years and learned everything about graphic design, illustration, branding, logo design, typography, and how to have good work habits. My boss was a great guy. He said, if you're not going to show up on time, be early. And I learned how to have good work habits, man, and be on time and have integrity and what integrity is. And so that was really the biggest leg up I had, was right out of the gate when I was very young. I got that on the job experience, and that really set me on the right path.
Wow. Well, I guess the big question, right, is, so tell us how you got that job. I mean, how'd because to me,
You
it's
know,
like,
I had done it was a cheerleader at 12th grade at our Taft High School, and her little sister was just like a freshman, like a sophomore, and she was turning 16. And so, since I was the school artist, I was one of the three school artists. She said, "Hey, Mike, would you do a Sweet 16 poster for Judy?" And I went, "Oh, sure, yeah." And so I did this big caricature of her with the pom poms, and she was the cutest little blonde thing you ever saw. And so it was a cute caricature of her with her pom poms, and her dad was the accountant at NBC, and he saw it. She brought it home, and it was big. It was a big poster, full color caricature. And he's, "Who did this?" She goes, "Oh, my friend Michael at school." And he says, "Well, we are just getting our summer vacation people going, leaving the office down in graphic arts, and he could come in and really help us out as a summer replacement. This is great." And so I had an opportunity to show my crummy little high school portfolio on lined notebook paper. I went down to graphic arts, NBC television, and I was like all nervous and everything. And the guy offered me his job. He said, "Yeah, come in every day, and we're just going to start you erasing lines, on the Wheel of Fortune, guy paints the signs for the Wheel of Fortune wedges, and you'll erase you'll after the paint dries, you'll erase the pencil. And I swear to God, I got a job I was 2 weeks out of high school, just graduated, 18 years old, and I was doing courtroom illustration 2 times a week for KNBC News. I did the Manson trial. I did the integration trial. I did Saul Minio's trial, the Hillside Strangler. So I learned my drawing chops 2 days a week in court, drawing courtroom illustration, just like from life drawing with eye-hand coordination. So that all that crap happened when I was starting at the tender age of 18. So I got a lot of great experience early on, and then I started working for BD Fox and Friends, motion picture advertising company, and learning how to do movie poster advertising, and how to, we were working on Working Girl and Friday the 13th, and we were working on films like Hopscotch with, these are like old 30 years ago films. But this is when movie poster advertising was like, you'd hire an illustrator and you'd pay an illustrator $6,000 to do a big illustration. And, photography campaigns, were just kind of starting to be used, but most of it was illustration.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
It was conventional illustration. It wasn't digital. This is pre-digital. So I learned a whole bunch about movie advertising, which I still do now. It's still one of my focuses, is doing movie campaigns. I do one sheets, logos for screenwriters and filmmakers that want to, I do decks for their feature. I do their one sheet. I write synopsises, and I write log lines and headlines, and all that shit that I learned when I was a wee lad stuck with me. And I worked for CBS print advertising, doing TV guide ads all through the 80s. And then I wound up working for Stan Lee at Marvel. And now it was all color. Instead of black and white advertising for TV guide, it was all color. And I was working on Muppet Babies and Spider-Man and all these great these Stan Lee properties. And it was just a hoot working for Marvel. And then I learned how to storyboard on Gem and the Holograms. That's when I was first introduced to storyboarding. And Steven Spielberg's first storyboard artists were all animation storyboard artists, because Steven Spielberg really liked the detail that animation storyboard artists bring to their storyboards. There's a ton more camera directions. There's a ton more instruction on what's happening in the frame. Camera, action, feel, motif, attitude, emotion, everything. And so I learned on Gem and the Holograms how to storyboard. And then shortly after I left Marvel, I started freelancing at my home with Disney Home Video. And Disney Home Video was in Burbank, and I had this home studio in Woodland Hills. And my very first campaign was the VHS of 101 Dalmatians. They were taking it out of the vault, and they were going to release it on VHS tape. And and I was the agency they chose to come up with a whole dog and pony show for 101 Dalmatians. And I went home and I rented all these puppies, these Dalmatian puppies, and I shot all this photography with my 2 young children that were the perfect ages and the ideal demographic. And then I said to myself, oh my God, I had these dogs crapping and shitting all over the place. And I was going, oh my God. And I thought to myself, what would somebody do with 101 of these Dalmatians? And I thought, well, that's the copy line. What would you do with 101 Dalmatians? Keep them on home video. Well, that became the campaign for an entire launch that Disney launched on 101 Dalmatians.
Now, when you did a campaign like that, when you were mentioning all the places you worked, I mean, I was actually going to ask you about the Johnny Carson aspect, because I remember that. I remember Johnny Carson. You're right. He used to come in on the commercial and then come back. There will always be different pictures throughout the whole show. I don't think they do that these days, do they?
No, the thing of the past. But it was definitely one of those things that was indicative of the Tonight Show, and a lot of art was generated over the years for the more to comes. And I was lucky to do 2 or 3 sets, and that were really, really fun. A lot of really cool stuff.
What happened to those? What happens to those, Michael? After those, I know some of them were repeats because I remember
I
watching Johnny Carson. There were sometimes they repeat the same picture once in a while.
Yeah,
What do
yeah.
they
I
do?
after I photographed them, I kept my originals for years,
Oh,
and they all
wow.
just recently burned in the LA fires.
No.
Yeah, my daughter, I bequeathed them to my daughter, and she had them in an archive at her house in Altadena, and everything burned. Her whole house burned.
Oh,
Everything burned in the house, and so all that stuff is gone. But I have photographs on my computer, and those are great memories.
your daughter fine. Your daughter's safe though, right?
Yeah, she is safe. My granddaughter's safe, and her husband.
Or
They got
nobody.
out with their car and a few computers, and so they're starting over. But yeah, no, it was really, really a wonderful. I just kind of, my attitude was also part of it, where I didn't get up all inside my head about having the perfect experience going to college. And my parents never shot the starting pistol. They never said, "Hey, go to college." They were into their own lives and doing their own thing. So no one was around saying, "You got to do this, you got to do that, you got to." Yeah, and I was just kind of going, "Well, okay, I just fell into this job at NBC. Okay, now I just fell into this job doing movie advertising." And then, I kind of just like landed where I landed and said, "Oh, I'll make this work now, and I'll do this." And I've never done any animation work before. I'll work for Stan Lee, and I'll work for an animation production company, and I'll learn all about this. And so, it was just great how I allowed myself to get involved with things that I didn't feel comfortable with. I didn't
What
know. I didn't have any training, and I
what was
learned those things.
what was the reaction among your peers when they found out that you were working for NBC?
Oh, it
you're a
was
senior high school. They say you're working for NBC and your work's being seen
so great.
nationally.
I got my friends work down there occasionally, some part-time work, and we had a blast working in graphic arts and doing the standby for the Tonight Show and standby graphics for the Wheel of Fortune. They would shoot late into the night on Hollywood Squares or Wheel of Fortune. We have to be there on graphic arts standby to like do a last minute fix or create a card at the last minute. And it was great fun. I loved it, and I was just young and full of piss and vinegar and
Yeah.
excitement. And it was just it was a great time growing up and working on the job and getting paid for it.
Were you able to be on the sets during filming? Like,
Yeah, the
wow.
midnight special was taping down there, and I'd go on the set and watch AC/DC or Heart or the Cool in the Gang, some of the biggest bands during those 70s and 80s that were on midnight special. And I'd walk in with my little stamp on the back of my hand, and I'd go there and I'd watch like the Doobie Brothers, and it was just like phenomenal. And we'd see like Joni Mitchell hanging around with Sting or somebody, and it was like, oh my God, somebody pinch me. This is so cool. You get to watch him go up there and play and tape a couple of songs. And anyway, it was, and I became friends with David Copperfield because I did the logos for his shows, his two specials, and Doug Henning. And because I was into magic and going to the Magic Castle, creating posters for the Magic Castle, while the art director for the Tonight Show was John Shrum, who was the art director for the Magic Castle. So he would come in and befriended me and said, "Michael, can you do us a poster for our annual It's Magic show?" Sure. How about a pass to the Magic Castle? And I got a membership, and now I'm a life member, and they've got a half a dozen of my posters hanging in the parlor of Prestidigitation. So
Now
that was a trip.
I was gonna ask you when you were sitting there when you got to go in there and watch these bands play and whatnot, were you drawing as you were watching? Like you were sitting there just drawing them,
I gotta take a break from graphic arts department, and I wander across the hall into stage 4, and I go in and watch for 15 minutes, and I get back. I go back because I'm on the clock.
Right.
But we'd take breaks and sneak over there and watch, all of us, because we knew there was some god in the building that was performing, AC/DC or Van Morrison, or oh my God, it was just a cavalcade of rock and roll celebrities.
I remember the midnight special very well. I used to
So
come
great.
on, yeah, I used to come on
I
Friday
used
night.
to I used to do the band names on a cucaloris, on a piece of Pyrex glass about this big around, and they would put them. I would cut a stencil with heat-proof paint and spray it on with heat-proof paint that they use for like car block engines, and then pull off the stencil, and the logo, the cars would be right on there with heat-proof paint, and they would put this Pyrex in the cucaloris lights above the stage and project the logo, the cars, like 30 feet wide on the back stage, on the back of the stage. And that became the backdrop for the bands. And I was contributing to the show, doing their reproducing their logos on Pyrex glass that was projected in the cucalorises. I mean, it was so great being able to work on shows like the Midnight Special and hang out with, you know, some of those incredible bands and watch some of those amazing performances.
Now, did you go out there and have a lot of fun, or were you pretty much, pretty much a straight arrow, like concentrating solely on your work and your craft, or were you 18 years old and going out there and enjoying life at the moment? I mean,
oh, dude, it was crazy. We were doing drugs. We were having a great time. We were just like, we'd go out and smoke joints in the King Kong leg that they used to use for the Tonight Show. They put these two King Kong legs, on the stage, full-size King Kong legs, and Carson would come out and do some sort of a bit with King Kong. And so they had out in the alley these two big King Kong legs, and while it was raining, we'd go out there and smoke inside the King Kong leg.
I just think that's such a fascinating job. Now, at the time that you were working there, now is this where you start? Did you just as far as doing the graphic arts for the TV shows? What did you first start drawing for yourself? Did you ever just sit there and just like did you?
When I was when I was midway through my career in my mid-30s, I started writing screenplays and I started getting into writing. I really wanted to develop my that muscle, and I'm terrible at spelling. I'm terrible at grammar because I drew my way through high school and grade school because all the teachers wanted a mural, and they said, okay, yeah, we'll give you credit if you just do me a mural. And then I never read the book, so I was shitty at reading. I was lousy at geography. I was lousy at history because I drew my way through high school. So what were we talking about? I lost my train of thought.
You're teaching yourself how to screenwrite.
Oh yeah. So I got to a point where I wanted to learn how to do screenwriting, and I figured if I could storyboard, I was learning how to storyboard at Marvel and everything. If I could storyboard my own things and write my own stuff, that maybe I could get some films made. And I took a crash course in filmmaking, the Hollywood Film Institute, and learned the basics of filmmaking. And I was working for Disney. I started freelancing for Disney, I was telling you, and I was doing all their classics. I was doing 101 Dalmatians, Rescuers Down Under, illustration and package design, the Aristocats, all of their Hercules, all of their classics. I was packaging them on DVD and VHS, and I was making a gob of money. And then I saw the writing on the wall. I had all these clients at Universal and Paramount, and I was doing Land Before Time for Steven Spielberg. I developed that whole first campaign that became $1 billion franchise for Steven Spielberg. And then I said, you know what? I can just see the writing on the wall. I'm going to die at 40 of a heart attack because it's very stressful business. Disney, if they don't have it, if you don't want to, the old adage was, if you don't want to come in on Saturday, don't bother coming in on Sunday. I mean, they would walk over anybody and get a good night's sleep. So it was brutal working for Disney, and I could feel a heart attack coming on. So I did that stuff for about 15 years. And then I just bought a camera, bought some lights, and I did a mockumentary, which is kind of like a Christopher Guest movie. And I hired Rick Overton as an actor, and I got Dave Thomas in there because I had worked with Dave Thomas on the Dave Thomas Comedy Show. I was a writer in the Writers Guild with Mike Myers and Dave Thomas and a bunch of funny guy. Martin Short's brother, Mike Short, was the head writer. And we wrote 5 half-hours for CBS called the Dave Thomas Comedy Show. And I was even in the opening, and I was one of the writers, and I learned the credo of writing comedy: think like a Jew, write like a Gentile. And so I learned how to write humor. I learned out where comedy comes from. I learned the rule of three. I learned all of that great stuff from Mike Myers, the great Mike Myers, the great Dave Thomas from SCTV, Martin Short's brother, Mike Short, all these brilliant minds. And Anson Downs was in there, and he and I had worked at the Comedy Store. We were in an improv group called Strawberries and Cream that ran for a year every Monday night. When all the improv groups went on, ours was called Strawberries and Cream. We came on right after Sam Kinnison's group. And the Fun Parade was Larry Miller's group, Larry Miller. And so I was working with all these gods, these improv gods, and Tom Wilson, who played Biff.
Did you just write, or did you actually get out there and perform as well?
We were writing and we were performing improv every Monday night, every improv comedy troupe, and Strawberries and Cream. And Tom Wilson from Back to the Future, who was Biff, he was in my group, or I was in his group, I should say, because he was just brilliant. But he was the bouncer at the Comedy Store at that time. And then we all started this group called Strawberries and Cream. So I knew Tom from the Comedy Store, and I got Tom to be in my improv, in my mockumentary. I got Dave Thomas to be in my mockumentary. I got 5 of the groundlings, including Mitch Silpa, who was in Bridesmaids, and Ben Falcone, who's married to Elizabeth McCarthy. What's her name? And so I had all these incredible, talents. And I wrote this screenplay. It was kind of a beat sheet idea of a guy who was making his first movie. And it was just like Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong does go wrong. And it was kind of like putting the camera on ourselves in a way, because I was learning while making my own mistakes. And it's on YouTube. It's called Take 22. It's about an hour and a half long, and it has all these comedy greats in it. And so I learned a buttload about how to direct your own feature film, how to work with actors, how to work with a camera, how to tell a story.
You mentioned one thing that you did. I want to touch base with that before too much longer, and that is something that is, to me, it's a lost art. You said they used to write synopsis on the back of the movies.
That really helped out.
Why is that a lost art now, Michael? Why is synopsis used to be like the hook? You have a good picture, then you have a back of it.
You bet. You would read the synopsis and decide on whether you're going to buy it.
Why are synopsis writing? Why is it so poor these days?
It's one sheets have gone by the wayside, which is the poster. Those are just kind of like they take a frame grab from the movie, or they take some photograph. Rarely do you see an illustration now. I mean, Stranger Things are doing illustrations, but those are the bigger shows that dole out a little bit of a marketing budget to do an illustration. But they just phone most of those campaigns home, and they don't wind up doing much of a synopsis to tease. They really don't care. It seems like they really don't care to market the stuff that well. They just want to get it up on the streaming platform and let the people start streaming it. Who cares what the campaign looks like? And it's just
now. Be honest with us. Be honest on this. I mean, so we hear all the time, and you'll know because you'll know the truth. So we hear this all this time about how a movie will come out like like a not a Snow White, but let's say big $200 million movie. They'll come out and they'll say it's a $200 million movie. Now, honestly, Michael, I mean, and they'll sit there and say they have to get like $280 to break a profit. Or they'll sit there as $200 million before marketing. Do you really feel? Because I have never believed those numbers ever as a movie fan. When they walk out there and say, "Yeah, this movie cost $200 million to make," I never believe it. Especially when they turn out they factor in the advertising.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to believe some of those numbers, isn't it? It's really fathomable. But and a lot of the smaller studios used to actually bend the numbers a little bit and say, "Oh, we spent all this money on promotion, and your back end is like zero. You're in the red to us, in fact." And it's like, what? Wait! And it's like everybody got screwed. And unless you're a big studio, A lot of those people were, going for the back end deal or something like that, and then they could always bend the books and work the books a little bit. So they said they spent a lot more on marketing and advertising your movie, and so there is no profit for you anymore. Sorry. And so
Well,
it just was.
do they really spend that kind of money on advertising though these days? I mean, especially now with social media and playing around, it seems to me like to advertise your movie, you could do it for free.
Yeah, no, I mean, with the tools that are available to everybody now, it's totally doable. You can make your own deck, you can make your own movie poster. You just have to know the fundamentals of movie advertising, and you have to know how to write headlines. You have to know how to write a really good headline. You're talking about selling a motion picture, an hour and a half, hour and 3/4 long motion picture in one frame. You know what a challenge that is to sell an entire movie in one frame? What does that headline say? What is the visual? So I sold Aladdin for Disney, and I said the visual was two kids rubbing in Aladdin's lamp and the DVD of Aladdin coming out of the lamp. And the headline said, "Grant their wish on video."
Wow.
And
see, that's lost
Disney,
today.
Disney just flipped. They said, "Oh my God, that's it. That's our campaign. Hold the phone." And that was a $500,000 campaign for me there was maybe 80 advertising elements, catalog sheet, DVD, VHS, all these different variations, and then all the magazine advertising and ancillary advertising and cross promotions, and oh my God, it was incredible. It was just incredible.
How much did they spend on that campaign?
Well, with me, like just to do one VHS package, I would get like $7,000 to $10,000 for your average package. For the bigger packages, I would get 20, 25, 30,000 for a package.
Did you get points afterwards? Like
points, but they really enjoyed that everything was digital, and I would give them files on disc, and then they would, go and get, they would save money on film and all that stuff because they had digital files on everything, and they preferred having digital agencies. I was one of 5 digital agencies that was working for them in the early 80s.
And so that lowered the cost of advertising greatly.
Right. But having an artist, having an agency that is helmed by a guy that can draw, like when I go into Disney and I'd show them everything and they get all the excitement in the room, you could just feel it. It was palatable. And somebody came up with an idea and I go, "Oh, that's great. We could do that." And he goes, "Really?" I go, "Yeah." And I whip out my pencil and all the execs are standing around in suits and I just go, and I do this quick sketch. And that always would sell it. Everybody would go, "That's it. We love that." And I just lock the whole thing up right there with a quick sketch. So drawing, everything comes back to the essence of, you got to be able to land on your feet, and you got to be able to draw. You got to be able to communicate your idea with a quick sketch. The power of a quick sketch, there is nothing that rivals the power of a quick sketch. Nothing.
No. I see. One of the things I always ask independent directors, that's the mainstream as well. So I will ask them if they do storyboard. I mean, some will sit there and say, they're, some are sketch artists. They're sketching, just enough to get them going. A lot of times I sit there, I do the storyboard more for me than anything else. But there's others that'll do a proper storyboard. Like he could keep it. After the movie's over. You can frame that son of a bitch, because it's pretty bad.
My God. I did all of the storyboards for Winning Time on HBO, the Lakers thing, the whole thing about the Lakers.
Pick that up.
I storyboarded all of the action sequence. All the basketball action was all storyboarded by moi. I'm working on, I just did The Old Man, 2 seasons of The Old Man with Jeff Bridges. And I'm working on Anya Taylor-Joy's, it's called Lucky. Or Aces. It's called Aces. It's a working title, but the director from Shogun is the director, and I'm storyboarding on that now. I just did my first scene a couple weeks ago. Big action scene. I'm under an MDA right now, but I did
Can,
3 seasons.
can you do an Easter egg, like, like on your storyboard? Can you do like a small Easter egg? Put Black Phillip in it.
Yeah, yeah, sure. We
Either
did
either
that
either,
little
either,
Easter egg.
either Black Phillip, or you could put like a. Did you see the menu
The Minion?
with yeah, with Anya Taylor and Ralph Fiennes? Do you see that?
No, I
Oh,
didn't see that. I
that
didn't
is
see that.
that's a mind blowing movie. She's really
So
good.
well, when the pandemic hit, I was sequestered. We all were sequestered, and I had time on my hands. And I had just come off 2 major cancer surgeries. So I was kind of in recovery, and it was the pandemic. And so I said, after the cancer, I said, well, I really want to write again. I felt like I got, granted an extra leaf on life. I had another life to live here, so I'm not going to squander it. And I'm really going to focus and do a good job. I'm not going to cut corners this time. And so I wrote this horror film, and even my kids liked the short, and they're really the hardest on me. And so I knew I had something that my kids liked it. And so I wrote this horror film called Cornstalkers, and it won all of these awards around the world in screenplay competitions. And I created a deck for it. We got it budgeted. It's like a $6 million, $5 million film because there's hot rods and it's very, very cool movie that I would love to see. And it won a lot of awards. So I've been trying to get that made for the last couple of years, but because the movies I've directed are mainly for that have been mainly for exhibition instead of distribution. I'm looked at as an unbranded director because I've never directed anything that's been distributed. So they said, "Look, we definitely like your screenplay, and we're definitely up for distributing a movie, but just not this much money. Do you have something that's like $1 million or $2 million?" And my producer said, he just happened to have one right here, and he pulled out his movie called Jump Bitch, and in doable for a lot less, and they loved it. And so now we're developing Jump Bitch, and we've got Dominic Monaghan, who was in Lord of the Rings and Lost, and he's a British actor. He's attached to the project, and we're trying to attach Sophie. She was in forget her last name. She was just in Heretic. And so anyway, it's coming together. It's slow going, but it's coming together. I may be able to direct my very first feature thriller horror film this year.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and leave everybody on the edge at the edge of the cliff for that one. And what we'll do is that we'll have you come back, and then you come back because Michael's wife is under the weather and has to have some surgery, and so we're gonna let him go so we can get back to be with her. But
You're very kind.
We'll come back. We'll see how everything is going, then we'll set up another date, and you come back and hang out with us in May or maybe June. See what we're doing.
I'll share my screen, and we'll throw a bunch of art and storyboards on the most movie posters, and I'll show trailers, and we'll have a good time.
Yeah, we'll have a great time. Let's just we'll plan on that. I'll write to you and we'll set that up. But right now, it's important for me to say thank you for coming out. We want you to get back to your wife. And
you're very kind.
Yeah, no problem. Family comes first. Believe me, I've been in your shoes. I know exactly what you're feeling right now. Never fun.
Well, have a great evening in New York, and until the next time, Patrick.
Yes. I'm so glad to meet you. I told you this would work out.
It's a lot of fun, man. I had a great time.
It is a lot of fun. Yeah, very lot of fun. And look for me in a couple of days.
Great. I look forward to it.
All right. Have a great night.
All right. See you, Patrick.
Peace. All right. There we go. That's Michael Bayouth right there. Artist extraordinaire and film director, it sounds like, coming up soon. So we'll get back with him later on. We'll come back and revisit with Michael in May or June and catch up with him. And very exciting news and tremendous talent. But what can you expect? That's what we do here on 8 Questions With, right? We bring you the best. And so I'm very grateful that he came out and gave us as much time as he did. I know it must be really difficult right now, but things will work out, and got to take care of family first. All right, that's going to be it for us for this show. Well, we'll be back tomorrow night with Camp Crush. That's right. Jen and Chris will be back tomorrow to talk about their brand new record. They got a album release party that's happening in Portland at the Mission Theater. And I talked to my brother about the venue, and my brother says that it is a nice venue. It holds about 350, 375 people. I can't wait for them to get in there on record release night and tear it up. Uh, and oops, sorry about that. Looking forward to seeing them again. They are such fun people, Chris and Jen. She has a beautiful voice, and he is one of the best drummers I've ever seen. I really think he is extraordinary. Um, and they make a lot of magic together. And we'll be here with Jen and Chris tomorrow. Hopefully they have recovered from their vacation. They went on vacation, and hopefully they'll recover to come here and hang out with us. There will not be any songs tomorrow night. I actually did that. I actually said I don't want anybody singing tomorrow because I want everybody to show up for that record release party. I want them to go out there and listen to the band's official music video, and also get out there and buy the album. They're selling it. Not only are they selling it on through digital, of course, but I believe they're going to be selling it in all formats. I think they're selling it also on CD and vinyl. They did a vinyl record. They did a vinyl record, and they sold out of that. They did a vinyl record. I was like a little 45, and they sold out one of their last recent shows. So I remember those days when a band would do split 7-inch, and man, that was like one of the best things you could get. A lot of times the song on the split 7 would end up being on the radio and breaking the band open off of a single. It's very cool to see. And also full length LP physically in your hands. Don't see that very often either, especially on an independent level. So this is going to be very exciting to talk to Jen and Chris tomorrow about this, getting ready for their big show on the 11th of April. All right. I should probably mention some other. I could mention my calendar of what we got going on here, so you guys can see what we're doing. We're still working on it. Next week, next Tuesday, we'll be having actor Robert Lasardo will be here. Robert is a grail guest for me. He is one of the guests I have on my wall, and I go like, these are the people I really, really wish I could get on to come onto my show, and then try like hell to get it, to make it happen. So like I just put Damian McCarthy on the wall there. Like I really like he's now a grail guest. And hopefully that'll happen. But we got Robert on the next Tuesday. He has done absolutely everything for everybody. He's a fantastic character actor, and he's also becoming a filmmaker. He's a lead and the director in this movie called American Trash. I've seen the movie. It's gritty as hell. It's a good movie. And it's gonna be an interesting discussion talking to Robert. He's a very serious man, and so we'll be talking with him and on next Tuesday. Next Wednesday, the 9th, we have children's author Anna Owen. I think it's Anna AD Owens. It's supposed to be AD Owens. So she'll be here, and she's going to be talking about children's books, writing children's books. And not only does she have published more than one, she's actually published quite a few. I can't think of a two more wider gap of shows than next week. You got Robert Lasardo, action drama extraordinaire, and then you got Anna, who writes children's books, and we got them back to back. I love it. It keeps you on your toes. So she'll be here on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We're only doing 2 shows next week. But after that, we are hitting the ground running. For next week is going to be very, very busy. On the 15th, the Cinema Squad is coming out to invade. That's right. And Anthony and Sean Jackson from the Cinema Squad. We're going to come out and talk about award seasons. We're going to talk a little bit of Night Gallery. We're going to talk a little bit about Virginia Woolf. We're going to talk about a little bit about everything, about, especially the summer seasons coming around the corner. Talk about the Avengers, all that good stuff, because it's stuff you want to hear about. And we'll talk with Anthony and Sean about that. Of course, I might be talking a little bit about torpedo bats with Anthony because he's a Yankee fan like I am. Okay, on the 16th, we have the cast director's cut. The cast of director's cut will be joining with us, and we'll be talking about their film. Lewis, Tyler, I got their names down. Believe me, I wrote their names down here. And I had to put it down on my calendar. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been so busy. And then on the 17th, we do have a double header on the 17th. On the 17th, we have our good friend Rick. Rick will be back. Rick Mellon will be here. Malin will be back. You guys all know Ricky from the old AF Reviewers. But he is now Rick Malin, actor, and he'll be here. We're talking about his new movie called Serial Killer. That will be at, I believe right now it's still scheduled to start at 4:00. If the time difference is there. I'll triple check and make sure it's the proper time. If not, I'll correct it for you guys. And then on the 17th at 8:00 at a regular time, we have actress Leslie Iverson will be here with us on the 17th. She is a young actress who's getting herself up and working hard on her craft. She's appeared in some really good movies, including Robert Lasardo's American Trash. And she'll be here, and we'll talk about her and her career on the 17th at 8:00. And then on the 18th of April, we are doing a watch party. That's right, we're doing a watch party. It looks like I'll be joined by the Bat, Al Lucard. He'll be joining me, and Michael Cassie will be coming back. Michael was here recently for our watch party for One Ranger, but now we're doing one with one of his movies. The first movie that he screen wrote for was his Hangman, and this is how I got introduced to Michael overall, was the fact that he had wrote Hangman, and Hangman is an excellent suspense thriller. It's a keeper. It's a banger. Really enjoyed that. So we're going to be watching Hangman, and then Michael's going to be talking about how the movie was made, and the background stories behind that. So we have a lot coming on here on the channel. So if anybody wants to catch up with us, that'll be awesome. All right. Thank you again for coming out, and like again, we'll definitely have Michael come back in May or June, whatever's best for him, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about his new movie that he's working on. All right, have a great night, everybody. Thanks to the chat who came out, Corey and Sue and Mike and Anthony. Thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out. Till then, see you tomorrow. Peace.